Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with CJ. And I not too long ago I stumbled across your YouTube channel,
Yeah,
and the thing about your YouTube channel is from the name of it. No,
yep.
I don't think most people are going to think D&D.
Well, exactly. It's like I didn't actually start out wanting to do completely D&D videos. It's a more general sort of thing. It's more of a general knowledge sort of stuff. But I also think, hey, I like D&D too. Why don't I make a couple of D&D videos? And then like people like started flocking into it. Yeah.
Well, so that's the impression that I got, that your channel was
Mhm,
going to be more generic, more of a vlog. But then when I look through your catalog, it is
mhm.
pretty much all D&D.
Oh yeah, that's right. But it's like I'm not gonna like stay on D&D forever because I like quite a few other games. Like Call of Cthulhu, I like Fate and everything like that. And even as a DM or even somebody who's into like tabletop RPGs, I steal everything. I steal all the ideas from Call of Cthulhu, the madness, insanity, and Fate. Sometimes I use elements of Fate in my game too. Uh, when I'm not running like official games, of course, official organized plays in my own homebrew. So I just use everything. It's all about the enjoyment of the players rather than sticking to just one brand or just one type of game. I think even D&D just take a bit from Call of Cthulhu with that madness in the DMG madness mechanic.
How
Yeah.
did you come up with your style? Because you have a very distinctive style on YouTube and what you're doing. All your videos are voiceover with these really
Right.
cool, fun animations.
Yeah, because I like animation, and I think I just thought that would be cool if I have this, and then I just end up doing it. It's like how pretty much how I get more people into D&D. I just said, hey, you know what's cool if you play as a dwarf and an elf cleric? Okay, yeah, but it's like uh, uh, you know, I know video games. I'm not into video games, and I just say, okay, how about we play without video games and just get people in? It's like a lot of people I play with, uh, like almost half, um, now it's over half of them haven't played D&D before, and it's quite an experience too. And sometimes the question they ask is just like something you wouldn't completely get from normal players who have been playing for years. And in my channel, a really interesting question is that is game time the same as real world time? I mean, why would it be? But it's something that gets asked so often. It's like it means that so many people have no idea how D&D works at all. So I think it's like, okay, why don't we start from the bottom and get more people into D&D? Because part of the reason I DM is that I want to play more, so that okay, here's an idea. If I get more people into D&D, they get to DM, get into DMing, then I get to play more too. So yeah, that's the basic idea. It's like a stupid idea of like, if I want to eat a cake, I have to grow the wheat, raise the cow, and cream the milk and everything. It's the long way around, but I think it's kind of working, maybe. Yeah.
That absolutely. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, it's a similar reason why we started Nerdarchy, is we want to
Mhm.
expand the hobby and see more people gaming. The more people gaming means the
Mhm.
more people we have to game with. And like you said, if you're stuck DMing all
Mhm.
the time, you know,
Right.
the more people you get playing, that's more people that can possibly DM, and then maybe you can sneak from behind the screen for a couple sessions.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And it's like I
Very
find that's
informational.
all right, yeah, I find that a lot of new players lately are really coming in from what's it called, video gaming background or even like uh, anime watching background. It's getting incredibly popular, and it's like they're bringing in tropes from all those other like medias, which quite fascinate me. Uh, and sometimes the way they do things, the way they expect other people to react is very different to how we usually expect. It's like how do you say, if they want to uh, gets, like, for example, to get like certain enemies to give up or something like that, they would do the most like most anime sort of things, like beat them to crap, and then they would be friends because it's a bit of a trope in animes. It's in Dragon Balls and everything, like Vegeta got beaten up to crap, and then they become friends when he becomes friends with Goku. And it's like, okay, I don't think that works in real life.
Generally not. Generally, after someone beats the snot out, you're not a fan of them. So
Exactly, yeah.
you brought up a really good point, and that is like the questions that new players ask. And I feel like us as Nerdarchy, we struggle with relating to the new players sometimes, having been so far removed from them. And that's one of the reasons why we kind of moved backwards and went into, you know, an intro into D&D series, and trying to really kind of like dial back to what is the very, very basic stuff that we kind of take for granted nowadays. Now, Ed does everything has a question for you. So how do you handle time differential? How much in-game time does your sessions usually try to cover?
In-game time. Well, actually, I don't really count. It's not really in-game time, but it's more like an emotional beat. I usually cover it by how many encounters and how many dramas I can create in a single session. It's like sometimes, you know, because I've been listening to audiobooks and reading books on how people get emotionally taxed and everything. I just create. That's the main point of my style of role playing. It's like how many dilemmas or how much drama I can put in one session, so that, you know, because, you know, after 3 or 4 sort of this dramatic sort of plot point, people will get really exhausted, because there is a bit of a science about what's it called, cognitive fatigue. You know, when people are thinking about some certain problems or certain things, you know, they stop being able to focus, because like making a decision is a very, very hard thing. I usually push them into making really hard choices, like showing mercy to a villain who is actually begging for mercy, or just straight up kill him. I know a lot of like murder hobos who just straight up kill them, but but you know, usually I just give them a bit of a like incentive to keep the enemy alive, to play on their greed a bit, like for example magical items or things like that. It's just like because it's all this sort of difficult decision that really takes up their time. You know, it's like when you go into a shopping center, actually choosing what to buy, you know, standing in front of an aisle and looking at this cereal box and the other. The time you spend is actually much longer than people imagine. So I'm just using that sort of tricks to get people into the zone, and time just passes really quickly because they are making a really hard choice. That's one of the few tricks that I use.
Nice. So TrueMate says, loving your class videos. Was just wondering, how long does it take to create one of your animated videos? I was going to actually ask the same thing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, okay, yeah. Too much time. It's like almost 40 hours.
I believe it, because even just I've been told that a good time for just editing a video is about 3 times as long as the video is. I don't know how accurate that is. You know, ours is a little less. We're very light touch on the editing. We do not do a lot, but still, you know, it's at least the length of the video plus some. So I can only imagine what you're doing. You're putting a ton of work into each of your videos. That's a lot of love.
Yeah, that's right. Because, you know, why do something if you don't do it well or do it great? Because part of the thing is that, you know, I'm just creating something that I would like to watch myself. Because, you know, if at first I was just thinking of creating these class videos that are just like stats and all the information presented in infographic style, but then again, you know, it gets really boring, doesn't it? And after a while, I just kind of improvised. I just, you know, since I already have the characters, I will just create create a bit of a story behind it. You know, it's like if people follow along, they will see an overarching story, what's happening to all these guys. It's like I never have them speak, and I never have them. I never. I don't name of the new any of the new characters, so I let my viewers like imagine what their names would be, which is like I guess part of the fun. Yeah.
Maybe at some point you can have a poll to name them.
Okay, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
Your channel has grown fairly fast too. I mean, you have over 10,000 subscribers, and your channel is like a year old, right?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, yeah, I started like what's it called? Started this January. I just like parked the name for a bit on late last year, and I started this year. But I kind of like did the all the graphic and all that sort of stuff last year actually. So like I've been planning this for a bit. It's basically because it's like I work in like a video industry, like as a video editor, and I thought it's like, okay, well, I've been working on other people's stuff for so long, why don't I create something for myself, something that I would like to show other people to, and then I just created my channel, and
I'm starting to find a trend. You're like the fourth
Mhm.
production guy that I've met that is also
Oh, really?
Tabletop gaming.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I guess that. Yeah. After a while, it's like people in production are really, like okay. I don't know if I can swear in your channel or not, but it's more like a third polisher extraordinaire. So what we do is clean other people's shit, and okay, after a period of time, we have enough of that. So okay, let's make something great now. Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's like it's a good discipline. Like yeah, I do make quite a few mistakes here and there in my videos, but it's like after a while, it's like after getting so many people like criticizing your work and all that sort of stuff, you develop a bit of a like uh, thick skin. So yeah, I start to get into like YouTubing and stuff like that.
yeah. If you have a thin skin, being a YouTuber is not a good place to be.
Nah, not really. No.
Or at least you better never, ever, ever look at the comments.
Okay, yeah, but the comments can be pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure
Mhm.
you get a lot of really good comments because you put a lot of work into your stuff. There's high production value. It looks amazing over there,
Yeah,
and
thanks.
it really pops, compared to everything else. Everything else is mostly talking head videos or like Nerdarchy, where it's just a small group of people, but the animation stuff is really cool.
Yeah, but I've been subscribed to you guys, in my what's that called, personal account. Yeah, for years already. Yeah, I've been following you guys for ages.
Oh, cool! Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
It's like yeah. I mean, it's like sometimes I just turn you guys on at one browser while I'm working on the other one. So yeah, that's really great. Yeah. And the thing is, with all this sort of like gaming, like D&D getting really more, getting quite popular, I just think that like, there are so many people from different areas playing this game. For example, at PAX, I've met a guy from the Philippines. And he said he's been playing Philippine D&D in Philippines for some time now, and it's like he organized play, it's massive there. Almost everybody plays organized play, but in other areas like Australia or even like the States, a lot of people play homebrew. Like for example, like Mike Share, Sly Flourish had a poll on where on the people's playing habit, and it seems like not that many people play what's it called play organized play, and people from other places plays it quite differently too. And I've been like checking out some tabletop RPGs from Japan. It's very interesting, very fascinating actually. In D&D, we play it like loose and sometimes really fast. It's like things just happen, this and that. They have really structured play. So they on some of their games they play it like scenes. Okay, there are like 10 or 9 scenes in a session. So at scene 1 is the introduction, and but it feels really rigid. But and when you actually play it, it really makes quite a lot of sense. So you kind of like, because knowing when the session is gonna end, you start to develop this sort of dramatic tension. You need to use your skills. You need to start spending your resources, all that sort of stuff. It's like it's a different sort of psychology there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I actually kind of run that way when I run like a superheroes game. I even, even sometimes it bleeds over into my D&D prep too when I'm doing prep. A lot of stuff I would just run off the cuff. But I do kind of like think like that too as well in scenes, because it does, like you said, it kind of sets the pacing for the session for that day. So you just came off of PAX Australia, and I was looking at your Twitter. And by the way, guys, you can find CJ's links on the description below. He's got a website. He's got it on all the social media, as well as a really awesome YouTube channel. And I saw on your Twitter hours. You said you were GM in 7.5 hours. Was that one session or multiple sessions?
That's just that one day. And the next day I did another 3 hours. So it's a total of 10.5 hours, because I had to cover for somebody. I have to cover half a session. I mean, I play a one extra like mini adventure, 1.5 hours on top of my 9 hours. That's a lot of time. So I know some people who got allotted like 12 hours. That's pretty insane. Yeah.
How many actual games was that, though?
Let's see. I was assigned the smaller games. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a total of. Let me. I'm quite awful with maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 games. 7 games.
Okay, cool. So when I first read that, I read that as one session, 7.5 hours, and I was like, that's a really long game for a convention.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, but it's like you just keep getting new people in all the time. It's like the 1 hour adventure that we usually have at Adventurers League. We actually run it for 1.5 hours. It takes we have to like account for new players coming in, needing some explanation on the mechanics and everything like that. So it's natural for it to take a bit longer, and to get them signed up to Adventurers League if we have the time for it. And it's like they just keep at least we have like 3 hour break in between, so that's pretty good, and we get to like walk around PAX for a bit.
So you were running games for Adventure League?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the whole thing is organized by the local organizer, Merrick Blackman. Some people would know him in the circle. It's like he's got a blog called Merrick's Musing, and he reviews like crazy. I don't know how he managed to review all that adventures in Dungeon Master's Guild and everything like that. He just like does it like a demon.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when someone is just like constantly reading RPG content, like complete source books and game systems. I'm like, how do you even have time?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like gotta hand it to him. Yeah, but it's like sometimes I just even when I don't get the opportunity to run it, I do read like other like RPGs and things like that. One of the later ones I'm really a new one that really entertains me is the latest version of Paranoia. Paranoia is always fun. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been trying to like implement more of it into my games. This sort of like player versus player sort of stuff. But I can find that it's really hard to find a balance when you create this sort of rivalry between players and not actually ruin the whole campaign. Yeah, because I find that in most of the campaigns that I played, when there is a betrayal, people will stop everything. No, everything has to stop now. Okay, everything has to stop. Let's kill him.
Yeah,
that always happens. Yeah, because it does make sense. It does make a lot of sense because, first of all, boss monsters, they are big and difficult to take. But one other player character it's easier to kill. So everybody just go for the easy target and just get rid of him and focus on the next big thing. It does make logical sense to do it. And and like emotionally, like I think was it Dante's Inferno, where it's like Brutus is in the deepest layer of hell because of treachery. Yeah, people just find like treachery to be the worst sort of crime there is. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Ed Does Everything has got a question for you.
All right. Yeah.
What was your most difficult challenge with making D&D videos?
Most difficult challenge? I guess it's because the thing is that I guess trying to find the blind spot, like veteran players. I mean, blind spot that we have, because we take D&D for granted. We've been playing it for some time. Things that we found to be really normal, really intuitive, may not appear to be so to new players. So I have to like ask new people, or like really observe how new players play, and usually also my comments too, because a really common sort of a really common question is that people ask, how long is 1 hour in game compared to our real world time? It's like, why are people even asking that? You can you can just say an hour or a day or even 10 years just pass in the blink of an eye. Just say it, and it's already passed. So yeah.
What is the saying? A 5-minute fight in D&D takes 2 hours, but a 2-week journey takes 2 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. It's but it's like I guess you have to look into it. You have to look at it from their perspective, and it's like, to many people, it's a really still a relatively niche sort of thing, tabletop RPG and D&D even, because every once in a while you see this newspaper column about the resurgence of D&D. You know, fifth edition has been out for like how long now? Almost 3 years, and people are just saying that it's a revival. It's like the revival has been going on for years now. It's like they haven't even noticed because it's just not in their radar. Yeah, and
I
that's
mean,
how a lot of people are.
although it's getting closer with it being inserted into more and more pop culture. With things like we were talking earlier about Stranger Things is highlighting it. Big Bang Theory, they talk about it. So it's getting more and more mainstream.
Yeah, it's getting more mainstream, and yeah, it does sort of create a sort of a different sort of play style, because people playing it on stream and everything like that. And Harmon's Quest. Have you seen Harmon Quest?
I have not seen it, but I am aware. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just all that sort of stuff. It's like the way you see people play it and when you're actually playing it is very different. Often, when people observe people playing Dungeons and Dragons for real, or like for its like how it's usually played, it seems a bit boring because you are not in the zone. You are not thinking as your character. Uh, and I do find that I do sometimes time my players, not as not trying to make them do things faster, but it's like how long does it take for them to make a decision? And it's like when there's a dilemma, when you're thinking of a character, they are mentally taxed with all this information that they need to keep in their mind. Things, I mean, time seems to pass much more slowly for them, even though like 5 minutes have passed, but to them it's just like 30 seconds. Yeah, it's like there is sort of like time warp when people play D&D.
It's like everyone gets bullet time.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone gets bullet time for real. Yeah.
It's definitely it's definitely not the same. So Zarif Gaming, which do you prefer, module adventure book or preset campaign setting or homebrew?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, I do much prefer homebrew. It's just that I know a lot of some people who prefer preset modules or campaigns so that they can bring on their expertise to the new campaign. Because part of gaming is that you want to build your skills. It's like if somebody's been in a certain like setting, for example, Forgotten Realms, they know a lot about the lore and they know how the system plays. They want to like retain their experience and the power they gain. It's a bit of like uh, I'm not using the term correctly. It's a will to power. People want to become strong. So they want to like bring whatever power they acquired from previous campaign to a new one, even though they start at new level. But I do prefer homebrew games because I can mm, uh, do whatever I want. And really, it's like the way I design my game is like around dilemmas and around dramas rather than just a pure number crunching sort of game. And I get more freedom from that. But usually what I do is like I get a module and just rip out everything that I need, just create something my own. I think a lot of people does that too.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, like we buy all the adventures and modules, we don't run any of them. We just pick out of them here and there, same as what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Plus, there's always like really great maps and all kinds of random encounter tables already made. So things you can just pull out and insert right into your game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. But running like official games is also quite interesting. It's like, for example, the one of the newer ones has a dinosaur racing rule. It's from the module. It's there are some bits of the rule that gets a bit too fiddly and too much. It's too fiddly. Like every time you finish somebody's turn, you have to roll for obstacle or something like that. It takes too long, and just like so as a result, you ended up being a playtester for the people at Wizard or something like that. And then when they got the feedback on how the modules play, they will just like adjust it in future game. Yeah. Part of the thing is that they do take a lot of feedback from DMs who run the games. So it's we are really playtesters too.
We were talking about that a little bit earlier about how like 5th edition is very much feedback driven, especially compared to all the other previous editions where it's almost like it was made in a bubble, where 5th edition it's wide open and they're constantly reevaluating and figuring out what's fun and what the people playing the game actually want. So I like that aspect. It's really it's cool, and it's making for a better game overall. So TrueMate wants to know any subclasses you are looking forward to in the new Xanathar's guide.
Any subclasses? Okay, well, the Bard's Glamour class looks pretty good. Yeah, because Bards and Barbarians are my favorite classes. I don't know why. Maybe because they start with B. But yeah, it's like, I mean, like, actually, this is a different game. I think Cyberpunk or something, sci-fi sort of RPG like that. There's something about what's that called? They have a geisha as their bard class. I don't know which game that is. I forgot. I read it a while ago. So I was thinking of, what if you are able like to control somebody's like a pleasure or like create some sort of magical drug to get people like addicted to the stuff that you can. The experience of the sensation that you can create. It's going to be really powerful because it's like. If you read into like history, courtesans have lots of power over the king or things like that because they have control. They have control over the tap of pleasure, as a return, if they control the king, they pretty much control the rest of the world. And it's like how eunuchs become so powerful despite them not having any military powers and things like that. And it's this sort of like the political play behind what your character can do is really intrigues me. Combat, it's like in the end you can just add more damage dice and things like that. it gets boring after a while. But if you sometimes certain features just drives you towards certain sort of play and just gives you inspiration to play your character a certain way. I think class design needs to be a bit like that. It's like inspire people to try something different by making it much more effective towards certain type of play. It's like push invisible hand that push the players into certain style. Yeah, I think some of the classes are pretty, even in the player's handbook, is pretty brilliant in the way they do things stealthily. They don't just outright tell you how to play it, but just by reading it, I know how I can be much more useful and productive by playing it in a certain way.
The invisible guidelines are there for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
So what is your favorite play style?
I mean, what sort of play style? I mean,
so like, okay, so I guess like I like more like fantastical or cinematic type actions in my game. I don't really care for realism or simulationism.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do that. Yeah, very much like you. I like to play. It's more like a bit of like whatever is the funniest happens. It's like I'm more most of my adventures are more comedic than epic sort of stuff. But I do try to in separate the dramatic elements to the comedic elements, because you need a bit of like sort of an arc. It's like things can be funny for a bit, and if you keep trying to get a laugh out of your players all the time, they do get emotionally exhausted in one department, so they have to play on their other part, on their other side of emotion. So I just try to add drama just to make the next funny bit much the next comedic bit much more funnier.
No,
That's pretty
that
much
completely makes sense. In one of my long-standing games, I had a couple players that they had a long-standing patron, and it was an old woman, and I knew I was going to kill her. I know, but I was going to have her die, and she was just going to die of old age and leave them everything. But I knew, like, if I tried to do anything like dramatic before that time, or too much of that, it wouldn't have the same impact.
Yeah, that's right.
So I intentionally steered away from that for months until until I was ready, and then and then they had their last moments with that character, and then they had the funeral with that character. So it just had so much more impact. And that's like for anything you're trying to do. If you want to evoke a certain kind of emotion, you have to kind of have to do the opposite for a while if you want to get that really deep impact.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, kick them with a bit of a shock. That's really, that's how a lot of like movies and narratives, how they do it. Pretty much, it's a standard way of doing things, and also it's and I do feel that sometimes it's hard to give player what they want, because usually they won't actually say what they want. They prefer to be surprised. And when they say they want something, don't just give it to them, or you need to actually come up with something better to really impress them. And it's usually also that surprise element that really hooks people into your game, because that's why we use a dice, so that because we don't use mathematics. It's like if you got like certain amount of accuracy and they have a certain amount of evasion and you always hit or not, that's that sort of predictability becomes like a tiresome. After a while, it's like you are doing an Excel spreadsheet. It's not that fun. If you have certain like strategic gamers, it can be fun for them, but after a while, it's you only attract certain type of players. It's like but I do have different sort of players. Some are really sort of like min maxers, and some of them are more into the dramas and things like that. I do try to make both of them work. I mean, the campaign work for both of them. So in terms of gameplay, the faster they can like clean up a room of mob, the more information, the more the diary isn't burned out, more of the big bad's diary, so they can learn more of their backstory or things like that. From their story they get more clues on how to defeat enemies. To just try to make everything mesh together, so that they actually help each other rather than find the other as a hindrance. Yeah, it's a bit of like that sort of a design that I'm trying to do.
Nice. So guys, I want to jump into roll call. So start calling out where you're from. We've got just under 50 people hanging out with us this afternoon, which I'm really grateful that you made time for us to come hang out. It's awesome.
Yeah, and thanks guys.
Yeah, hopefully some of our folks that are seeing this that haven't checked out your channel yet will go check it out, because you put a lot of hard work into it, and it definitely deserves more attention. What do you do different on your website than on the on your YouTube channel?
On my website, not yet. I was planning to put up articles on it, and I was trying to put up my what's it called, the any die sort of formula on damage calculation and all that sort of stuff on my website. But it's like I've been pretty slack on that. Yeah, it's like I couldn't find enough time from work and actually creating the next video for the channel.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff on there. There's a bunch of content.
Yeah, it's really just, it's just mostly the video and a bit more information, background information, or character sheets. But it's not really enough. It's not like your website where there is a actual article. It's not like a spin-off from one of my videos.
Okay. Well, that being said, we have other people that write on the website, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And there's more. Even when we were doing the writing ourselves, there's always been 3 or 4 of us. So it's, we've been able to kind of like share the workload with that at least.
Yeah, it's great. It's like, it just makes it so much easier. But me, I only have like 2 of my pet rats at my back. Yeah, call them Wormtail and Cheetos.
Wormtail and Cheetos. We've had a couple of pet rats over the years.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, they're really crazy, really expressive little hands too. It's like when I try to rub them, sometimes nope. Okay. Yeah, they're really expressive with their hands.
We had one that my daughter rescued from a snake cage, I think, and it lived for about 3 years. But it would we'd had the cage near where I'd work with my computer, and it's funny when she wanted my attention, she would throw like seeds and stuff out of her food bowl at the computer.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, all the way to the computer.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess, is it something with RPG players and rats or something like that? It's like, I don't know. I mean, the guy, there's this guy who has been running RPGs for years. Is Left Lafayette. I don't know if you know him, but it's like he also have a lot of pet rats. So he pretty much got me into like pet rat ownership. Maybe it's like the next thing, like after like getting into tabletop RPGs, you need to have a pet rat.
Maybe I'm not so sure about that.
Maybe, yeah.
But I mean, they are cool. We've all and a cat now. We've always had cats or dogs. There's something roaming around here. So I'm going to jump into the chat here. We've got Todd coming to us from Dallas, Texas. Frigginator is in Lake Stevens, Washington. Lincoln is in Sweden. We've got Raven coming to us from the OZ, not too far from you.
Yep.
Relatively speaking. We got John in Jacksonville, Florida. Circleville, Ohio with Geeks and Undies. Gomo Chops or Gomi Chops is Oxford, UK. Orlando, Florida in the house with Slats. Trumate is in Wales. We have Denver, Colorado in the house with John. Oh, we have Shallender, Rio Rancho, New Mexico. We got more Dallas with Ed Does Everything. AJ Kinney is in Washington, Lopez Island there. We got Underwood Sketches, Hillsbury, Missouri. Santa Barbara, California with Sean. Richard is in Orlando, Florida. We have Evil Silly Putty in Minnesota. We've got Patrick in Sweden. We've got Utah with Virgilio in the house.
A lot of people. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got people all over the place. We got Walt in Ashland, Kentucky. And we've got New York with Wilder Smith. We got Frigginator. I hate rats. You're missing out. Rats are awesome.
Yeah.
Christian is in Oklahoma. We got Colorado Springs, Colorado. Reed. So we got people tuning in all over the states, all over the world, which is always cool. Yeah,
that's you know,
the weird thing about our pet rat before it passed away, we learned something about it that we didn't know for the years that we had it. It could leave its cage whenever it wanted. And
yeah.
You know, when she got sick and I guess she knew the end was coming, she would leave her cage. And we're like, we saw her atop the cage. I'm like, how did you get there? And we put her back.
Yeah.
And you know, and then I watched her. She just stood up and she knew how to open it, and came out. And you know, after that, my wife just kind of took her and held her until she faded in the night. But you know, the impression it gave us was that it just wanted comfort in the end and wanted to be near someone. And could have gotten out anytime it wanted. It just liked it there, I guess. Free food, so it was sold.
Yeah,
that and the cat running around the house. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, I think you're quite right. You know, it's like I can, you know, my pet rat can just like get out anytime, so I just leave the cage open most of the time, just as long as as long as they don't crawl under the TV desk and started chewing into wire. Just let them do whatever they want. Yeah,
well, that
really
is
smart.
We could definitely not do that with the chinchillas because those things are insane. They chew anything that is not made of glass or metal. They chew.
Yeah, that's insane. It's like last time when they bit through my cable, it's like, oh my god, when I touched the cable, I got electrocuted. And they like shoot halfway in there. It's like, I mean, how do they do that? I mean, even I can't. Even I got electrocuted, and they just keep biting into the thing. It's like, yeah, that's crazy. It's like, gee, but you know, it's like I really love these guys. It's like sometimes it's like I don't know how. It's like them. You know, when they first came to me, they really hated each other. They're like brothers, right? One of them, I don't know which one is older, which one is younger. Cheetos, he is part of his fur is like chewed out, and we don't know why. We thought that it's because of stress, but after a while, I found out that it's his brother Wormtail has been like bullying him, biting into his fur and everything like that, and it's like, okay, they must be really tense, or I'm not quite sure why. But after a while, I just like take really good care of them, and they stop like hurting or bullying each other. And it's like I kind of like coach Cheetos a bit. I gave him a bit of a backbone. So when Wormtail just kind of like try to like dominate, because rats kind of does this, and it's like one of them try to push the other one down and started like nibbling on their fur. And whenever they do that, I just like help Cheetos a bit, and then they started fighting a bit. And once he gained enough dominance, and his fur started growing back, and they both look quite healthy now. Yeah, this is it's pretty great. It's pretty, yeah, watching.
I think in the chat, Walt R is blaming you for the bullying for naming him Wormtail.
Why is that? No.
Well, because Wormtail in the books is a sneaky bad character.
Well, I don't think it understands human words. But maybe if it's familiar.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's it called? Because lately I got quite a lot of new players into the game who are really more into like video games, and also what's it called? Animes are getting really popular lately. So have you been getting those sort of players? Because they play quite differently, because the tropes they are used to is quite different to Tolkien's and everything like that.
I think amongst our fans, there's quite a few anime fans, and in the Scarlet Sisterhood game I run, both Sam and Megan are into anime, so they always talk about that. I've never really gotten into it. I almost feel like it's a younger thing.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, it's very fascinating the way because of course anime is from Japan, and the way they handle social situation and things like that, it's very different to people from the West, I guess. The way they would handle a situation. So it's like sometimes you kind of need to like come into a bit of like compromise. How would this situation resolve? How would a social interaction between you and this NPC be resolved? If just like for example, like we said before, like beating the crap out of people usually doesn't work in trying to make them a friend. And it's I mean, I guess in general, it's fascinating how people from different background also does things differently. Because I got players from what's it called, Italy. I got players from Russia. Uh, the social interaction they have with the NPC is very, very different, and it's quite fascinating the way they do it. Sometimes I have to ask, okay, what are you trying to do? What are you intending to do with your action? Because most often they use the method, I mean the tool. Uh, they just do a certain action expecting certain outcome, and sometimes it doesn't translate really well. And I think it's good to ask them what they're trying to do sometimes.
Well,
Have
that
you find
that does bring up an interesting point, and I'm sure it can make for
yeah,
some interesting
yeah,
outcomes in the game, because if
yeah,
they come from a different background as
yeah,
a player than you do as a GM, and
mm,
they, like you said, they have an expectation,
yeah,
and you either doing something that's unfamiliar to you, or
yeah,
elicits
that's
a
right.
different response than what they're expecting. So that that's definitely going to make things interesting and change things up.
Mm,
Actually, going back to like talking about anime and
yeah,
stuff, like I
yeah,
I often say, going
mm,
outside of genre, checking out the things
mm,
out. They're all great ways to learn how to, one, be a better role player, two,
that's
better,
right.
come up with different characters and
Mm,
characterizations. Or as
mm,
a GM, it can also alter your
mm,
style, and you can
mm.
borrow and steal from almost anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's why I just continue playing with games with people, even though I try as much as I can when I'm not DMing to play games with other DMs and things like that to see their style, and sometimes they play in my game. So we just like kind of improve each other's play style. Yeah, and it's like it's like DMing style is not copyrighted. Everybody can just like it's a bit like sports. It's like just because somebody is running faster than you, it doesn't mean that you can't run as fast as the other person. It's like there is no copyright in running. It's what everybody is doing pretty much. Yeah.
Everyone's got two
Hmm.
legs. So
Yeah, everybody can do like.
when you're not playing, what do you like to do when you're
Hmm.
not playing D&D?
Uh, let's see. Mm, yeah, I listen to lots of audiobooks and watch whatever's new, play some video games, but I haven't got much time to play it lately. I'm so into like tabletop RPGs now. It's like, yeah, I wish I had more time for video games. But you know, that's also video games are also one of the media which I borrow or steal a lot of ideas from, which is great. It's like Persona 5. It's got it's becoming the way they do I mean RPG is becoming a bit like tabletop, as in they're trying to add more drama and things happening to uh, uh, I mean it's like uh, usually in the old RPGs you enter a battle, you just fight, just get deplete the boss enemies HP down to zero and you win, that's it. But now with new games, sometimes you have to like play a roulette with them and expose their trickery, the way they cheat, and then it's gonna help you win and things like that. There's more like a drama. There is more like innovative way of making a battle interesting. It's like they are going to that territory. So I mean, us as a tabletop like DM, I think we can do a bit better than that, because uh, we don't have like hours and hours of planning or that needs to go into like creating a new sort of experience, new sort of encounter. So yeah, I think we are one step ahead of video games sometimes.
Now, earlier when we first started, you had mentioned wanting to do things about other tabletop role-playing games. Are you playing any other tabletop games right now?
Yeah. I'm playing Call of Cthulhu, a lot of it. Yeah, because I do like this sort of like a world-spanning setting. Yeah, because I like reading about history. I like reading about other cultures. So it's and I just put in a lot of I can just spend so much more time preparing for stuff and reading about history, go to Wikipedia or other historical pages. And once I present it to my players, they just like sometimes, I don't care. I just want to kill that monster. Yeah, it can be a bit heartbreaking at times, but the research itself sometimes it's so much more fun. And I think that's something that some people sometimes take for granted. There are so many things in our world, in our own history, that's sometimes more complicated and more fun than than some fantasy settings. Because in like a story's narrative, they need to like trim down a lot of the fat so that it becomes a really lean story. But you're losing a lot of the nuances from history. And like George R.R. Martin, for example, is like writing his book very close to history with lots of some stuff that may not seem related, that ended up getting related to the main plot line. And there are lots of loose bits and ends that's a bit confusing sometimes. But it's like just like in the real world, there are so many things happening, and it just feels really rich compared to how most narratives is run.
It's one of the reasons why I like running superhero games. Is because I like to draw from the real world and things that are going on, but more so from, I guess, less from a serious angle, more from a fun angle. So I like to use like pop culture references, in one of my Mutants and Masterminds games, I turned Mr. T into this like Hulk monster or superhero that, of course, they have to fight him at first, and then and then they can like team up with him later. Or one of the things I had done was I had Michael Jackson's pet chimpanzee Bubbles get hit with a growth ray and turn into like a King Kong type monster. And so every once in a while, ever since this happened, he'll grow, and once he does that, he goes and looks for a blonde to carry up to the tallest building that he can find, just because he likes the King Kong movies. And and tries to reenact them. He doesn't try and hurt anybody, and like that was part of the fun too. It was like for my players to figure out that this wasn't a monster for you to fight, but that this giant chimpanzee is playing a game. And then it became, can they save the person and not hurt the monster as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's sometimes it's like you need to provide a bit of a structure, isn't it? It's like I have an experience DMing for a new player. He is completely unable to grasp D&D, a tabletop role-playing game. He feels like the first thing he asks, how do I win? How do I win at it? Yeah, that's really fascinating. It's like he have a actual, what's it called, existentialist crisis playing the game. It's like he comes to a village, see the elder, and says, what can I do with this elder? Can I kill him, or can I befriend him? Oh, wait a minute. Let me kill him. Oh, if I kill him, what will happen next? It's like he just keep asking himself questions, and he wants everybody to stop everything they are doing, so that so that he can get his questions answered. That was mind-boggling to me. That was one of the most hilarious thing that ever happened. If I look back now, at the time I was like completely frustrated. What are you doing, man? What the hell are you doing? Yeah, it's.
I can see how that would be frustrating as a GM, because you're like, well, no, you have to decide now, and then you see what happens. That's how the game works.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes some people are really into structure, and I guess that's why I create a bit of a rule for between them and myself, so I can trick them into certain traps or things like that, but I have to play within the social rule, the unspoken rule that we have created between us. So there is always one or two forewarnings. If they can't catch those, it's their fault. And it's those sort of like fairness that I'm trying to create between me and my players. Because if I do things too arbitrarily, they will just like think I'm just making shit up too much. Even though DMing is just making shit up.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, uh, yeah, it's but it's really good. I mean, playing D&D is a really good exercise for the mind, and I just think that uh, I find a lot of people have problem trying to understand, trying to get all this information into their head. I did a bit of a like amateur analysis of the first level character of fighter and wizard. It's like just to know all about the combat rules and the movement rules and all the basic stuff. It's like about 700 words worth of like words that you need to read, plus 150 for all the fighters class features. But if you play as a wizard, all the spell casting rules and everything like that is almost 2,000 words. That's that's insane. It's like playing as a wizard is pretty hard. I don't know if Wizard of the Coast is gonna do something about that, but I don't think they really have to, because there needs to be a bit of like a fun barrier, not like a completely dead barrier to entry. But I mean, the difficulty just gives it a bit more satisfaction when you're able to master the class. But yeah, I think since the way they are doing all this sort of play testing, I'm wondering what they are gonna do about this.
They're not. They can't. You know why they can't? Because they tried to and it didn't work.
Oh really? Oh yeah, fourth edition, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it worked, but people rejected it. So
yeah,
like
yeah, that's true.
they tried to solve two problems, and that was, how do we make the wizard as easy to play as the fighter, and how do we make the fighter as interesting to play as the wizard? And they're like, oh, well, we give them all cool powers and abilities, and well,
yeah,
we have now we have
right.
edition. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's but right now I think with all this sort of resurgence with D&D and all other tabletop role-playing games, I think that we will soon see more stuff coming out there from other areas, maybe, because I've been looking into RPGs from other countries, like well, there is one from Germany, the Dark Eye. I haven't really got the PDF yet, but I'm planning to look into it to see how because from the system you get sort of the sense of how different people want to resolve their conflict, what makes sense to them. And also there are some stuff from uh, Spain. I think Anima is from Spain. It's supposed to be like a bit more fantastical sort of base sort of RPG, and there is also quite a few from Japan. Maybe I will look into it in the future. But it's like like great game masters steal from so many other like system just to make a game their own. I'm just kind of wondering if they just kind of expand the horizon much more and see what all these different system offer. Maybe you just make a really interesting Frankenstein of a game, or what we can really learn from it, what other people find interesting.
absolutely. Yeah. So we are up on the hour mark. What is it, something you would like to leave people with?
Well, I guess it's yeah. I know a lot of players who find D&D to be pretty hard to get into, but the thing is, once you started playing, it actually everything really resolved naturally, and the first game is usually the best game, no matter how it was run, unless fire happened. But no, just have a go at it and get other people who has never been interested in the game at all into a session at least once, it's people, they're not going to laugh at you, because just asking them is already sort of a screening process. If they're anyway interested, they would come to the game. If they're not just gonna spend their time coming all the way to your game just to laugh at you, because it's a waste of their own time. So just have a go. Start playing something, start planning something, and most likely it will turn out well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to also, guys, go check out DJ's channel.
Dave.
Don't Stop Thinking. He's got a great stuff over there. The animation is a lot of fun. He explains things, breaks things down, especially if you're a beginner. It is a perfect place to start. So go check it out. Also, you can follow him on all the social medias. All that is in the description. Thanks for coming on, CJ. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Till next time,
thanks,
guys.
Dave. Yeah. See you guys. Bye-bye.